What's up, guys? Before we jump into today's video, I'm a part of Scuff Madness, where we're in the running for our very own custom branded Espresso Scuff controller. Every usage of code Espresso helps big time, whether that be a $3 keychain, $8 charging cable, or a full-on controller. It all counts the same and is a huge help. So if you are interested in helping out, the link's in the description below, but only if you want to. Anyways, let's get to the content. Early on in a game's life, it can sometimes take some time to find your footing and be items that are truly better than others. When you consider that there are a lot of stable drop items in abundance, like your Bear Scars, MG34s, and Model 680s, those naturally aren't the weapons that you want to be using and things that you want to be equipping to give yourself the best chance, especially lasting late in game. So what things should you be using? What should you be equipping to give yourself the best competitive advantage to last in a late game and then possibly even win and be that victor out of 150 players who drop in with the same hopes of trying to get that crown of victory? Today, I want to share with you guys a bit of my list here on what, dare I say, is the most overpowered items in Warzone. Oftentimes, I'm not a huge fan of that term, but in some regards, there are definitely things on this list that I expect to be adjusted with tuning passes in the future, because they absolutely can get wild, some even borderline unfair in the state they're in now. But that said, as we go along, let me know your thoughts below. What's the most wild thing you've encountered in Warzone so far, and maybe that you'd throw on this list? As well, do be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare and all things Warzone on a daily basis. But anyways, let's jump into it. Firstly, let's start with one that I've absolutely been loving. We talked about it a little bit in yesterday's video about our tips to win and some things that I think can really help your chances in game. Highly recommend that if you guys haven't seen it already, but it's OP for a few reasons if you ask me, that being the thermal optics. Firstly, it's relatively easy to get, and we'll get to why in just a few, but the thermal on, say, a sniper oftentimes can reveal players all the way around the map, which to me makes it OP for the scouting and information aspect here. There's a small percentage of players that will have cold-blooded on, so that helps, obviously, because you can't get perks naturally. You have to end up getting a loadout drop to have any perks, but then to also have that plus cold-blooded equipped, again, it's a very small percentage of players you'll encounter. But ultimately, the majority of players will be visible from their heat signatures. And the way a lot of the thermals work out, this is something that they will stand out like a sore thumb when scouting the different areas. But again, if you say pop it on a sniper, having that extra added distance of the magnification will help out big time. But what makes it OP to a degree, in my opinion, is that if you slap this on with a thermal, you can gain high ground and completely see everything in the map and the enemies no matter how far they are. Of course, they will get smaller as you go further across the map trying to scout out. That's just the distance there, but there doesn't seem to be a render distance cap on character models for how far the sniper scopes and thermals also can see. In Blackout, there was actually, I think it was 400 meters player models would not render, so you wouldn't have any idea if there was somebody directly out in front of you across the map because you wouldn't be able to see them. That's not the case here though with Warzone. You can easily see players still, again, even if they are a little bit smaller, with no exaggeration from end to end of the map given the right elevation and line of sight. This can be absolutely insane for scouting and gaining information on engagements coming up or ones that you may want to pick off. So absolutely give this a go if you have the option. Next thing I want to talk about was one that, when you think about it in MP, I almost made a video about the most useless items for Modern Warfare, but when you consider this now in Warzone, it is actually OP, that being the heartbeat sensor. Now, the heartbeat sensor, again, in MP, I would never take, but when you consider that, I don't know, stuns, concussions, decoy grenades, they may not have as much a purpose as they do in close quarters engagements like in MP, whereas you have an entire world in Warzone with Plunder and BR, but the heartbeat sensor is one that you can use infinitely. It doesn't run out. It's not something you have to reacquire once you use it once. You can pull it out at any point. And what makes it incredibly powerful is that the range isn't like what we knew of back in, say, Modern Warfare 2, where it was a kind of short distance. This actually has quite a long distance on it. You can see it ping through multiple surfaces, multiple buildings, and it will let you know players in their general location. This is absolutely a beautiful scouting tool in trying to know where enemies may be, either at late game or even early game. You can take it and drive around in a vehicle. That's something myself and my squad have done quite a bit, where one player will run that heartbeat sensor, will drive around, get a relative location of an enemy, then pinch in on them and get some eliminations. Late game, it's incredibly helpful if, say, we had an engagement where there was a field, we had a bunch of hills that were obstructing our view, we didn't know exactly where these players were, so we kind of knew, all right, this area is safe because there's no heartbeat pings, and there's 3, 4, 5 on this side. So we knew how to take those rotations. Overall, it's just a really powerful tool that is really undervalued in MP because it doesn't really do a lot, but when it translates over into Warzone, it's an entirely different world, an entirely different scenario, and it's definitely something worth taking. Next, I want to talk about something with the UAVs. Now, these, of course, are incredibly important for rotations and, of course, late game also, but one thing that's absolutely huge, I think, is the fact that you can actually work this to become an advanced UAV. We mentioned this in passing yesterday, but if you and 2 other squad mates, or you have, of course, just multiple chances to buy them, you can buy them quickly in succession and do this by yourself. But if you activate 3 UAVs, it becomes an advanced UAV that for the duration of those UAVs that are called in, it showcases the red icon for players that showcases the direction they're looking and also their real-time movement, plus also doesn't just have regular pings, it showcases everything there the entire time on that minimap. So it can become absolutely a powerful tool, and this one I don't think is one that will be adjusted. I think this is definitely something that takes coordination to do, and was absolutely something that on the back end was thought out, that how can we encourage team play but also reward that in the same way that it becomes one of those things that, okay, should I use this UAV now or should we save it to get an advanced later? Next, I want to talk some weaponry, because there definitely are some weapons that stand out head and shoulders above others that players don't really consider because they may not be necessarily in their normal repertoire of weapons. Firstly, let's start out with the R90 shotgun. This is one that the 2-burst is incredibly powerful. Doug is Raw absolutely annihilated me with this when we were out at Infinity Ward getting early access gameplay of this, and that was the moment that I knew, all right, that's going to be something ridiculous, and it's made its way to where it is now without really any adjustments. So close quarters, the time to kill of the R90, and also the Origin, if we really want to get out there, is incredibly fast. You can end up shredding through enemies close quarters like absolutely no other. Usually about 2 standard double pumps of that will do the trick, though you can do it in 1, but it's an absolute powerhouse of a weapon, and one that if you want to shake up your own personal meta, definitely try and run something with this where you do have it for close quarters engagements. Another weapon I do expect to see a little bit more of is that of the Aughh with 5.56 rounds. This can absolutely challenge the majority of engagements, though of course not along like sniper range, but overall it's again one of those weapons that, like the R90, close quarters or mid-range can absolutely shred, and it's very easy to handle. Now, I have no idea if we're going to end up seeing any weapon tuning at any point with Warzone, but we'll end up seeing how that plays out. But while you can, definitely take advantage of those 2 weapons. Now, those both are obtainable by loadout drops, which is the next thing that I kind of want to talk about, which again, overpowered is such a strange term to me, and this was definitely built in the game to allow for more personalized levels of play, but right now it is kind of borderline OP, but it might not be a huge problem because everyone has access to it. But loadout drops for $6,000 can give you whatever loadout you want, perks and all, which is where it kind of takes away the BR element of BR. It's not something that you are only dependent on whatever the RNG gives you, thus creating new scenarios every single time you jump in. This adds a layer of predictability to your own engagements, and thus is why I think that it can be OP in some capacity, and why I've heard people saying we need some changes here for it, whether that be to bump that price tag up to $10,000 or make for $6,000 a loadout drop only individual so that your entire team doesn't get it. I would expect some changes to be made just so that that meta is something that isn't too dependent on that, but we'll see where that comes. But for right now, it's absolutely worthwhile. One thing that I do want to mention off of that, though, extending past that, loadout drops are the only way you can end up getting perks, and one perk that has absolutely been kind of a surprise to me is that of Tracker. Tracker is a perk that in MP is, I'd say, a little bit more overlooked. I'd more so go with Amped, I'd more so go with Battle Hardened, but in a Battle Royale format, Tracker is actually really worthwhile. It's not something that's going to showcase footsteps from across the map where a player may have been there 3 minutes ago, but if you're hunting down a player or a squad with your team, you may lose track of where somebody goes dipping into a building. This, though, will help negate that. You know exactly where they'll be going, and so therefore you can then adequately shift how you want to take the engagement. It's definitely worthwhile for more close quarter scenarios and stuff that if you are hunting a team, well, it fits that category nicely. And the final thing that I want to talk about is one that is an attachment I think we'll see players adapt to and add on basically every single loadout they have on offer, that being the monolithic suppressor. What's strange is that the Battle Royale minimap acts as how the minimap should have acted to many players in MP, but still to this day does not. Shots will show up on your minimap and thus give away your position. And with it being something that in Battle Royale, naturally, if players hear a gunfight going on, they're obviously going to go right towards that. They're going to go towards the action to get that third party. So if you can take this not only just in the way of helping yourself to have that element of surprise and have the people you may be engaging not necessarily know where you're at immediately, the monolithic suppressor helps out big time because it takes that dot off the minimap, but also adds damage and range to whatever weapon you're using. So really there is no downside here to it. You gain damage, you gain range, and also stay off the radar for where players may be immediately able to track your relative location. So absolutely, I think that is a must-have as well, and thus is in the top category for what I think are the most powerful items within Warzone. So that, I think, is where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. I've been no-lifing Warzone, and I found this stuff to be incredibly helpful, so wanted to share it with you guys. But that said, if you guys have anything you'd like to add to this list, maybe take away, whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered here on the channel, so if any of that interests you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Suppressor. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.